Now let's look at logging your videotapes. Now the most important thing you can do in this dialog box is to name your reel. I can't tell you how many producers and directors I've seen that log their tapes that every tape is labeled Reel 001. And 6 months later when they come back to find a shot on a tape, they don't know which tape is 001. So we're going to go ahead and label our tape first, and it's called Running with the Sahara Tape 7. So we'll select the reel box, and I'll type in RTS space tape 7. Now before we move forward, a lot of people ask, well, why do I even need to log a tape? Logging a tape and then batch capturing it, which we'll do in the next lesson, allows you to do two things. First of all, by picking out only the good shots and the good parts of the good shots, you can save a lot of space on your hard drive and a lot of time by not having to search through the junk while you're editing your program. And the second thing, it gives you the opportunity to look at your footage again, and by picking the best shots, you can actually start editing the program in your head. Now let's move to the other text entry boxes. The first box is description. And if you notice next to name, there is no text entry box. And that's because the name is created by the description, the scene, the shot, and if it's a multicam shoot, the angle. So let's go ahead and type a general description for the footage that we're going to bring in. And this will be exteriors desert. Now let's click in the scene dialog box. As you see, next to name, we now have the words exteriors desert. Now before we can write down what the scene and the shot is, we actually have to look at our footage. So at this point, let's cue up our tape. I'm going to press the play button, and this should initiate the camera. And as you see, we have a beauty shot panning right to left. We have the same transport controls as we do within Final Cut Pro, and we could use those if we wish. But you can also use J, K, and L just like you do within the Final Cut Pro application. If I wanted to rewind, I can press the J key. If I wanted to play forward, the L key, and if I wanted to pause the tape, I can press the space bar. Now as I'm watching the tape, I'll want to mark an in point where I want my clip to start and an out point where I want the clip to stop. I can do this on the fly, or I can park the tape and mark my ins and outs at specific locations. I want this to be my in point, so I'm going to press the I key. Take a look at what happens in the lower left-hand corner where it says Not Set. This is my in point. As soon as I press the I key, we see the time code where the playhead is currently parked. Our in point is now established at 1 minute, 5 seconds, and 25 frames into our show. Next, we want to choose an out point. Once again, I'll hit the space bar to play the clip, and I can fast forward through the clip if I want. I simply tap the L key a couple of times. Once the pan is completed, I can again pause the tape and mark an out point. Notice that we now have an out point at 1 minute, 28 seconds, and 18 frames. I also have a duration of 22 seconds and 24 frames for the entire clip. I can now add a scene description specific to this shot. And then I'm going to go ahead and label this Shot 1. I'll press the Tab key to go to the next dialog box, and we see under the name it says Exterior Desert 1. Wait a second, what happened to my pan right mountains in the distance? I need to make sure that this box is checked, otherwise Final Cut Pro won't use it as part of my name. I simply will click on the name, and as you see, mountains in the distance is added, but because we have a smaller dialog box, it actually truncates it so you don't quite see the pan right. But trust me, when we actually log this tape, the entire name will be there. There's one more decision you need to make before you press the Log Clip button, and that's whether you want to activate Prompt or not. We're going to turn Prompt on the first time we log a clip, and then I'll turn it off to show you the difference. With Prompt turned on, I'm going to press Log Clip. And when I press Log Clip, a dialog box will come up showing me the name of the clip and giving me one more opportunity to change the name, write a log note, or to mark the clip good. If I like the way everything is, I'll simply press the Return key and confirm OK. If you notice, in the upper left corner of our browser window, we now have a clip icon with a red line through it and the words Exterior Desert, Pan Right, Mountains, In, and obviously it goes off screen. What this indicates is I have all the log information to capture the clip, but the clip is still offline. Let's go ahead and log one more clip but this time with the prompt button turned off. I'll go back here, I'll press play, and if I want to fast forward beyond this clip, I'll go ahead, hit the L key a few times, and as soon as I go to the next shot, I'm not going to pause, I'm going to mark my in point and my out point on the fly by hitting I and O. Let me go ahead and pause the clip with my spacebar key. If you noticed, I have an in point at 1 minute 47 seconds 9 frames and an out point at 1 minute 53 seconds 24 frames, giving me a 6-second and 16 frame clip. The other thing I want you to notice, since I didn't change any information in my log and capture text box, Final Cut Pro automatically increases the shot number from 1 to 2. So if I'm editing on the fly, I can simply mark in points, out points, and log clips, and Final Cut will always add a shot number to the clip name. Now instead of pressing the log clip button, simply press the F2 key. Now this is really useful because you can very quickly mark in points and out points on the fly, and instead of stopping and finding that log clip button, you just press F2. So you can very quickly scan through a tape marking in and out and F2. As a matter of fact, another useful shortcut is simply pressing the in key, and instead of pressing the out key, press F2 and it will automatically log your clip. We'll do that for our third clip, but for now I will press F2 and log our clip. Now let's use the in and the F2 key and log the next clip on the fly. I'm going to once again start playback, and I'm going to start fast forwarding by pressing the L key a couple of times. You'll notice when we get to the next shot, I mark an in point, and now as I press the F2 key, you'll see my log appear in the timeline. I'll do it once more, in and F2. And now let me go ahead and pause playback. Now I've marked 4 clips to ingest into our program. Now once you've logged your clips, we're ready to capture them, and we'll show you that in the next movie.